Welcome to Catholic Messenger Conversations with Bishop Tom Zinkula. Today, I would like to talk about peripheries, your travels or journeys to the peripheries. But Bishop, I got to ask you, how do you define the term periphery as it relates to your ministry as our shepherd?
I think that's an important question. What is this thing, to kind of frame what we're going to be talking about? So the way I look at it is, basically another word that Pope Francis used this word periphery, right? But previous to that, a lot of times people would talk about going to the margins to connect with people who are marginalized, so he's kind of using a little bit newer language. But I see those as the people in those situations as people being kind of outside of the mainstream, people who are struggling in some way, but we all struggle in some way, but insignificantly, however, whatever that might be for them. People in need of assistance, to use biblical language, the least among us. So, so we all kind of have a sense of people who are, hungry and homeless and, sick and all that those kinds of situations. But Pope Francis, has said more than once or twice or three times, peripheries are more than just, people in a physical location or in a particular social category. He also talks sometimes about existential peripheries. All right, so there's places where poverty is not only material but also spiritual.
Oh, that's a good point.
And so it could be somebody rich, so going to places where people are wounded and feel that like their life has no meaning and makes no difference. So there's people like that all around us. We don't have to even go very far necessarily, but there's this metaphor about going to the peripheries where people are on an edge of some sort or another.
Wow, yeah, that's a really good point. It's right there amidst. We're in the midst of it.
There's always,
So just raising our awareness, maybe.
I think so, yeah.
So then, how do you choose from among you get all kinds of requests to go to places, to be with people. How do you, what about requests to peripheries? How do you decide this is a periphery I'm going to journey to?
Yeah, so there's tension, in our lives, and for whatever reason, different kinds of tensions, and it's not all bad. Sometimes tension can be healthy and holy, depending on what we do with it, how we approach it. So yeah, there's time restraints, and I've got administrative duties and things coming at me of that nature constantly. So, I think in terms of priorities, this is the ideal, which I don't always achieve, but the ideal would be that the peripheries would have the priority over administrative duties even. And that'll be the case like if there's a funeral. Somebody dies, and so I can't always make it because I just can't. But if I can, I'll drop other things, and that's a periphery.
I was going to ask you about that.
People who are grieving, people who are struggling and hurting. So maybe what's a family member, a parent of a priest or something, or whatever it might be, or a lay person who's been very active in the church or a family member. So yeah, you just. Sometimes you just drop things and go there and be there if you can. But, I need to be realistic and prudent, and there are some things I just need to do. And so, but, some calls are pretty easy on that. If somebody calls and, once in a while they'll call, my secretary, and they're looking for a priest to visit the hospital because their loved one's there. And for some reason, I don't know. Who knows why that might be? Yeah. But Emily knows that if I can do it, I'll do it.
That's cool.
And I could hand it off to somebody else. So this isn't very often, but that's easy. It's just, in a sense, it's a hospital here in town or across the river. So I'll just go.
Do you think those patients are pretty surprised when they see you, thinking they're going to?
Yeah, sometimes, yeah.
Because people do still have this idea that a bishop, wow, bishop is coming to see me kind of thing. I know you don't
I don't.
For that kind of thing.
No, but it's kind of fun too,
Yeah.
though, right? Yeah, I'm a priest, I can do pastoral things.
Yeah, so you don't wear your mitre on those visits,
No,
right?
I tend not to.
What's the most unusual periphery you've visited?
As a bishop?
Yeah, I mean, you've been to a lot of peripheries.
Yeah, so, I mean, as a bishop, Ragbri, that was sort of
That was definitely
unusual.
On the periphery. That was what, physical and existential, right?
Right. Well, yeah, right. People, yeah, right. And probably more existential. People are fit; they're able to do that, and they have the means to do that. So they're maybe not plugged into faith, and then there's struggles there because of that. So just being present and not necessarily connecting with all those people, obviously.
You did some special things, though, didn't you, on Ragbri, because people didn't necessarily know especially riding your bike, they're not going to know you're a bishop or that you're Catholic or anything, right? So how did you, I don't know. You go to the peripheries, you want to share the faith too, right?
Yeah, right. So I think it's just like, we celebrate Mass every day.
Right.
So there's connecting with people there. If people wanted to come, to find me, they could find me there. And I had some conversations with folks around that, and just with our team. You know, there are people
that was
kind of hanging out in the evenings, and you talk about faith often because there's this bishop, whatever. But I think even just the symbolism of that and the being there, and I remember. I'm just wearing biking things.
And you're sweating along with the rest of us.
And then I am in a town that we stopped at for the evening, or we're passing through, and I'm getting something to eat or whatever. A couple of times I overheard people saying, I heard that there's a bishop riding with us. So that's cool. I mean, it's not always what you say; it's just being there. And who knows what difference that makes for people, that maybe gets them thinking about their faith a little more. And
and you kind of have a love-hate relationship with Ragbri, right? I think, kind of.
Well, I think anybody probably does. I mean, and a day when this could never happen, but 90-some degrees temperature, 90-some% humidity, raining, wind in your face, hail, everything else.
Oh, man.
You mean that's not a love relationship, right?
That's right. Wow. How about the most challenging periphery? Can you think of one of those?
Yeah, so like, again, as a bishop, we're talking about.
Yeah, we're talking bishop.
Yeah. Okay.
But if you've got some really great periphery experiences.
No, I would say, I was thinking about with regard to unusual, visiting a leper colony in India when I was on.
I bet.
That was outside of my comfort.
Describe that. I mean, what was that like? I mean, can you just kind of set the scene? What did that look like?
Well, I mean, it's, just going over what am I going to see? I mean, I've seen pictures of lepers, with their hands gone or pieces of their body gone, whatever, feet. And so I was like, okay, how much of that am I going to see? And I did see some of that for older people. I mean, now it can be controlled with medicine.
Oh, okay,
anybody needs to, but okay, well, that's interesting. And it's a different culture, so it's just a whole different feel. So it's just a leprosy thing, that disease, and this different culture and poverty. They're still stigmatized.
Yeah,
and they've kind of still living in away from people and in their own place. And so but it was joyful because I was with Father Francis. You met him, this friend of mine from India, priest, and he'd help them to he's able to get money from Christians, Catholics in Europe and in the United States, and to help build nice, very simple place for them to live in versus
I wondered about that
slum situation. And they had a water, to put up a simple water tower thing for water.
Wow.
And then they were, when we were there, they were waiting to he for his next visit to dedicate this women, infant, and children place, this little building where they could, provide materials and education and things for
So their whole families, I mean, young and adult.
Oh yeah, it's their whole families there. It's not just. Yeah, that's another thing that kind of I just figured it'd be these little lepers, but no, it's the whole family comes. It's not just okay, you go away.
Do they stay there permanently?
Yeah. They've been there. This is like generations.
Wow.
So there's little kids and there's young people, and none of them have leprosy because they can control it.
Right.
But they're just, how do you break out of that? It's kind of like, slavery and breaking out of that.
Wow.
Here in our country.
Or generational poverty, I suppose.
Yeah. And stigmatism, and still there's, biases and things.
Wow. Do they have jobs there, or?
Not so much begging.
Oh,
trying
okay.
What they were doing is they were some of the young people. They're people that provided for them to leave and go to some other city and for education, but they wouldn't tell them they came from a leper colony. so that education is a huge thing to break out of it.
Yep.
So they were trying to get kids educated. It's very sad in one sense that, that's this whole thing, but they were very joyful and they were so excited to see Father Francis and have this, all these things that he provided for them. And so that was definitely an unusual deal. But yeah, so challenging as a bishop. The gender committee work that we've been doing has been challenging because I had my biases with regard to that, to trans people and not understanding that, and I was judgmental and uncomfortable with that that issue. So to meet people and get to know them and hear their stories and just learn more about this whole thing, and there's still lots to learn, but just kind of getting a better sense of it. That was a challenging thing for me, and it's still somewhat challenging, but especially at the beginning of that, that's a whole new world for me.
Can you talk about some of the things you've learned from that, or some takeaways? Or
I don't know, just that everybody deserves to be treated with dignity and respect. You can should they be doing this? Should they wear different clothing? Of the sex that they feel like they're a part of. Should they pronouns and names, and much less the medical stuff.
Right.
So it was all that was all new, and I learned about that, and I'm just more sympathetic, and hopefully and compassionate, that maybe I disagree on kind of some decisions that some people make, and like I do with anybody,
Oh, that's
whoever.
right. I can't imagine I would do anything.
My own decisions that I make, but just they still deserve to be welcome,
right,
in the church. They just like anybody, they need to be treated with dignity and respect.
Any other challenging ones, or?
I was thinking about so with COVID. And early on, there's all this fear, because we don't know this thing, and so rightfully so, we need to be careful until we kind of get a better understanding of it. So it's, all the shutting down, and there's a lot of people in hospitals then with COVID and all that, and so initially we were, we were ready for a pandemic, and our thing was we have maybe a couple priests or a few priests that are the ones who go to do the ministry in the hospitals, and they take all the precautions, but they're younger and less.
That's right.
Risk.
I remember.
So we're doing that, and so we were mostly was just like one priest, because there weren't we could do it with one or maybe two at some point. So I'm asking a young priest to do that, and God bless them, they did, and one of them updated his will and end of life stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, no, because it's like who knows, and so then I'm asking, and then it's like I'm kind of running out of guys. Like I'm not going to ask older guys or guys that are more at risk for whatever reason, and so I just started going, and that was uncomfortable for me and challenging to. I'm wearing all the PP.
Oh yeah, you had to get all dressed up.
And all that stuff. We had all these really careful precautions and showers and everything, especially in those early days. And that was very rewarding in certain sense to
Okay.
be there for people in those situations, because not their loved ones couldn't even maybe be there, maybe eventually maybe one loved one or something, but so that was a challenging.
How did they respond to you when you'd come
It
in?
just depended. I mean, sometimes they couldn't respond to anybody.
Oh, that's right, because they're probably not conscious or something.
I'm there because it could be
a tough
it was either an end of life situation or it could be an end of life situation.
Yeah.
Usually it was somebody that was on the way out.
Was that particularly hard? Or, I mean, I don't know how you've attuned yourself to, you probably have seen a lot of people in the dying.
That wasn't that part of it. That, 'cause, I've been around that as a priest for years, and but just the COVID part of it, and I don't know. I mean, if you get it, you get it. You die, you die. But so it's like this is just a different dimension, different feel to it, and the whole situation with working with the healthcare people, and you couldn't just waltz in there and do your thing, and it's a whole different. The tent, it was tense, and even ministering to some of those people, the healthcare people, because they were just. It was really a tough situation, and
did you realize you were going to be ministering also to the healthcare people, to the workers themselves?
No, I hadn't thought about that until I'm there, and some of them, are Catholic, or even if they're not,
Would they ask for your prayers or a blessing or something like that?
Yeah, different things, or it wasn't like they're busy. It wasn't like long conversations, but definitely there was some ministry with them too.
How do you maintain a positive attitude on the more difficult peripheries?
Well, there's this thing called prayer that I do every once in a while.
Oh, okay.
So that kind of helps. I was talking about Emily, my secretary or administrative assistant, and so getting ready for this podcast, and she gets a lot of these calls, right?
Right.
Emily, help me remember some of these periphery calls that I get, because I forget. And so she was kind of reminding me of some different things. But one of the things at the end of that, where she kind of mentioned a few things, this was in an email. She wrote this: "From my experience with you, you thrive on visiting the peripheries. Like Jesus, he did not go where it was easy. He did not prefer to hang out all the time with the clean, the well-to-do. Jesus was usually found amongst those in the community whom others may not have wanted to be seen, with whom others may not have wanted to be seen or aligned. You appear very comfortable amongst the least of these." So, that's pretty interesting, because I am. I mean, I like just. I don't know. I'm a sucker for the downtrodden in terms of just wanting to be there for them and help them in whatever way I can in my role as a priest, just as a or now bishop, or as a human being. People like that are hurting or like feel out of place. I'm at some gathering, maybe a social thing or whatever it might be, or just whatever gathering, and I try to keep an eye out for somebody who's sort of is out of place, right? It's clearly they're kind of over by themselves somewhere, and to kind of have an antenna for them, and to because I know you know what that feels like, right?
Right.
And so just to sort of, I don't know, people that are in need, just like we need to be there for them.
Do you think prayer has helped kind of strengthen that for you? I mean, the fact that not even just the fact that you're ordained, but the fact that prayer is such an important part of your life. Do you think that?
I don't know. I'd like to think so. I mean, it's hard to kind of make all those kinds of connections, but I think just being a priest, it's sort of who you are.
Okay.
Or should be anyway. And I mean, it's Matthew 25, and
we should all be that way, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the things I'm talking about, some of these things, okay, leprechaun, all this, okay, whatever, but I was talking about funerals. It's just, there's peripheries. We don't have to go to some exotic place to go to the peripheries. They're around us, especially existential ones,
right,
for us who are in more blessed circumstances in terms of materially and whatever.
Right. How about uplifting? You maybe all of the peripheries end up being uplifting for you, but how do you? What some must surprise you. Maybe going in thinking, oh, I don't know how this is going to turn out, and it's maybe something.
Yeah,
really...
I would say, lots of them, most of them, all of them in some way.
Okay.
So in terms of, kind of getting to the kind of day-to-day sort of a thing, hearing confessions. That's a peripheral thing, big time. Most priests will tell you that's one of the things that gives them most fulfillment.
Do you hear a lot of confessions, or do you
Not
do that?
as many as I used to, but
okay.
I do some on occasion here or there. Yeah.
Okay.
So like I'm subbing for somebody, and there's Saturday evening or afternoon for confessions, or just whatever it might be. Definitely not as much, not hot anymore, but or school confessions, or once in a while even first reconciliation, which is kind of always
I'd have to disguise my voice if I went to confession with you, I think.
Yeah, well,
maybe.
So no, that and again, basic sort of normal things, visiting priests, deacons, and in the hospital and care centers, just that's they appreciate it, and that and so if I can bring some joy to them, that's great.
Can you share one of those experiences a little bit, just in a general sense of visiting?
Well, I went, I don't know, a couple weeks ago over to Call Home. We have 2 priests there, and in Bishop Franklin. It was joyful for me and both of those priests when we had a chance to chat.
Cool.
It was, and then Bishop Franklin, I don't know that he didn't know who I was, and that so that was
right.
a different kind of an experience there because of his memory issues and things, but yeah, that was it was just joyful, and so, but I don't know, there's international priests that have come over and assisting them, helping them to get kind of oriented.
I hadn't thought about that.
And they're on the periphery big time in terms of coming to this new culture and maybe not knowing the language as well as they would like to. So getting them settled.
How do you do that? Do you have supper with them, or is it just talking with them in your office, or how do you reach out to them that way?
All of it. They tend to. I'll go to the airport and greet them and welcome them, which they are surprised at. It's like, well, why wouldn't I not do that if I could? And then they tend to spend a little time at St. Vincent Center, so there's meals and there's mass. I'm around and interacting with them and trying to be a spiritual father to them, and so that's definitely uplifting, and helping those guys get settled and get more comfortable. You can just see when they become more relaxed and they're laughing more and more just comfortable with the situation here. So things like that. The Vietnamese sisters, there's this education fund that I kind of
that's right,
raise money for them for that. They're so appreciative. Their Mother Superior came today.
Oh, wow.
And I went over there to the Humility the Sisters' Mother House, where there's 4 sisters staying, the ones that are in school. So these other, not just the Mother Superior, but some other sisters came with her.
Oh, that's cool.
So, maybe a couple from Vietnam, but others from other places in the U.S. where their sisters are. And so, and they're so appreciative of us welcoming them here, and then me trying to help them out with their tuition and stuff. And so they gave me this gift, a clergy shirt that was made in by one of their sisters back in Vietnam.
Oh, that's great.
Probably won't fit, who knows, but how fun is that?
Yeah.
That's uplifting for me. It's a bit of a hassle to kind of find money, but they're so appreciative, because they're like, they don't know what they would do otherwise.
Right.
So those kinds of things are
uplifting. Then, and what are some of the valuable insights you've gained on the peripheries?
Okay, well, you asked me that about in another kind of way before, something with that,
okay.
but in another
Okay.
in different terminology. But so I'll maybe say something different this time.
Sorry about that.
No, so like I don't know, something I think it was you published recently. I think I said something like people are people are people.
Okay.
Anywhere and
Yeah.
everywhere.
That's right.
That's what I've discovered. People are people. They care. There's maybe different cultures and different languages, and some things can be quite different in among different groups of people. But everybody, is looking for love. Everybody's wanting to take care of like parents wanting to care for their families and provide the basic needs. Everybody, needs to have good water, pure water to drink, and food, and health care, and education. Everybody's looking for those things, and it's just once you break through barriers and things, you can. I've always been able to connect with anybody, in some very different situation. It's this basic human condition that we share.
So you don't ever feel awkward? I mean, like you went to Transitions DMC in Burlington last week and met with people who are homeless and other folks. And I just wondered, you broke bread with them. I mean, it's not the first time you would have done that, but how is it hard to break the ice? Are people trusting, untrusting? I mean, how do you deal with that?
There's always a little bit. There's always awkwardness and uneasiness with people that you don't know, and no matter even if they grew up the same way you did, and still you don't know them, and maybe more so if it's somebody that's grew up in a different situation and find themselves in a different situation. There's always going to be that kind of a thing, but we're all children of God. We're all, we're all in this together, and so. I don't know. You just if both people are open to connecting, and then you will. If somebody's not, well, you won't, no matter what. But otherwise, I love to get to know people. I'm curious and just kind of what makes people tick. What's their story? That's I really enjoy kind of just getting to know people, especially maybe people that are different from me, because they're.
Right.
What's this person all about, and trying to understand them and where they're coming from and what's important to them.
So, I mean, maybe you've already addressed this, how you prepare for going to a different periphery, or is it different depending on the periphery you're going to? How your preparations?
Yeah, I mean, it probably depends on what I'm going there to do, or what the situation is. So, I might need to prepare in one way or another just for that situation. But otherwise, I don't know, I just try to have an open heart, open mind, open hands, and and you just take it as it comes. I mean, if I need to do some homework for whatever reason, obviously that's important. But otherwise, I'm trying to be open to the experience and kind of let the Spirit lead it.
Well, I'm thinking like when you went to go visit the Dalai Lama and present the Parchment Peace and Freedom Award, I mean, that was a really hectic time, tight schedule. You meet the Dalai Lama, and I was just wondering what that experience was like for you, because it was such a harried time, trying to get there on time and make other commitments. And
but I think it's like life. We need to be flexible, because you never know what's going to happen, and it could be all planned, and you think you're prepared, and then there's a wrench that's thrown into it in some one way or another. So it's just you just roll with it. I don't know. The older you get, I get anyway. I don't know. I'm way looser about those kinds of things, and that's not to take anything away from preparing and planning, and, because that's really important. But there's the both, there's this structure and everything. But there's also something about spontaneity, and then in terms of tension, healthy tension, that those things can be held in tension, and to have one, if it's totally spontaneous and just kind of whatever, then maybe it's not going to be as good.
Right.
It's totally structured. It's too tight, too tense. That's not so good. But to kind of, have some sort of a plan, and then you just sort of, you're open to where the Spirit leads you.
That's terrific. So what periphery do you hope to visit next?
Well, whichever one beckons me, I don't know. Sometimes these just are off, and they're just sort of, here's this thing somebody's asking you to participate in or whatever. I usually don't have to seek them out. They usually seek me out. But in terms of things that's the spontaneous side of things.
That's
the more structural side of things. So there's I know there's a 50th anniversary Mass coming up this fall sometime. I think it's in Grinnell or somewhere. And that's a periphery, older people, at this point in their lives. I mean, there's, so that's always, they're always excited and joyful about that, obviously. So a lot of years of marriage. And so there's that. There's also, we've been shut out of prisons for
I was going to ask you about
now.
that.
And so, every once in a while I ask Emily, will you check and see if they're letting people minister yet in the prisons? Like there's 4 of them in our diocese, and so I was kind of getting annoyed and about. I mean, I can go into care centers, you can go into hospitals, you can go into people that are, maybe more fragile than your average prisoner. What's the deal? This is not right. This is there's religious freedom, and they should be able to see their minister, and we should be able to celebrate Mass. So I actually called Tom Chapman. I was going to call the head of that. I asked Emily, find out who's the person who's in charge of prisons, and find out who that guy is. And she looked into it. It's actually not a guy, Bishop.
It's a woman. Department of Corrections.
Yeah. So I was going to call, and I'm like, just to make a phone call and then maybe say some things you wish you wouldn't have. I mean, that's not enough preparation, whatever. So instead, I called Tom Chapman, the Iowa Catholic Conference leader, and he's, because he knows people, and he's right there, and he's like, well, actually, one of the other bishops had asked about that too, and so he's like, let me look into it, and so what he told me just last week is so next month the Department of Corrections is going to start the process again of having religious volunteers reapply and do some training, to get back in prisons, and then they have to have background checks. So they're hoping the plan is to have people approved to visit in person by September. So
by September of this coming year?
Yeah, this year. Right?
That's cool.
Yeah, so hopefully hopefully I'll be able to get back into doing, and not just me, but other ministers getting back into in the prisons, because it's been a long time.
I'd like to tag along on that.
Sure, that'd be fine.
Be awesome. And then I guess you'll be going to another couple of peripheries geographically to Ireland later this month.
Right. Put in a plug. It's probably too late.
I have to do that. It is too late to sign up, but that will be our next podcast. Yeah, we'll have to pray about that. They can pray for us. And then you're going to Africa in September, right?
The latter part
of September. So there's a couple more, at least geographical peripheries, but there'll probably be a few existential.
There will be. One of the countries is one of the poorest countries in the world. I think so.
Okay. Well, Bishop, it's been a pleasure in learning a little bit more about your journeys to the peripheries.
Yeah, and a little look into my life anyway.
That's
Everybody's
right.
got their own situation.
Got their own story. Thanks, and we'll see you next time on Catholic Messenger Conversations.